Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 2 of my Great Guitar Build Off entry for 2022. We are picking up where we left off on episode 1, so I'm writing out the channel for the truss rod. The difficulties I'm encountering here is that every time, every passage that I do, there's just so much sawdust that it will get into the corners and not allow me to cut deep or wide enough. At the headstock end, I have that clamp just positioned correctly so that uh, the router will bump into it and not go over where it should go. What I was doing with the scalpel there was trying to, well, there's a step somehow in that part of the channel, and that's what I was trying to figure out. Moment of contemplation. Trying to understand why that router bit doesn't go exactly where it should go, and I believe it has to do with a little nib on the base of the router. So if I put it a bit sideways, like I'm doing here, that still didn't work. So I'm going out with a chisel now. It's just a small step that's not letting the truss rod sit properly. And that did it for that jig. So maybe I can try and salvage that. Maybe I can make a better one next time. It was just held together with glue, so any twist would have prized that out. Yeah, that one is okay, but it seems I got the channel the way I want to do. That very end is gonna be widened anyway. I'm just marking the width that I need to cut that part of the channel to. You can pretty much see where the middle is of that just by eyeballing it. It's going to be a couple of millimeters either side. I can see the chiseling that out, but it is maple. Doesn't cut that easy. On TV on this occasion, I believe I was watching Midsummer Murders. Yeah, that sounds like Barnaby, not Poirot. Starting that cut with that small chisel will help me later on to visualize it when I'm freehanding it with the router. So as I mentioned before, the spoke nut is going to sit out of the neck instead of recessed into it, as it's traditional in all music mans and Charvels and all that. So I widen the shot a bit more again, so you can have a good look at my hairy knuckles. So I didn't feel comfortable freehand routing that bit. I went back to the chisel for a bit, but no, that doesn't work. Probably the chisel isn't sharp enough, so. Started to think every TV show should be a double speed. It's just hilarious. So I'm just checking for fit here. It's not gonna sit properly yet because the final dimensions of the neck are not cut yet. And at this point we should be just about ready. Just a bit of cleaning up. And that slides right in. It's a fantastic filling. Yes. Now this is a messy part of the process. And as you can see, I've put plastic all around. Still had a lot of cleaning to do. At this point I don't have a suction system for the router yet. But in this process most of the shavings are thrown out rather than sucked in. So I have the template taped and super glued to the body blank, and I'm going around very gingerly with the router. This is just a 1/2 inch wide and deep router to which I've added 2 extra bearings so I can do a slightly deeper cut before changing to a different router bit. It's a long process, but it's what I have. I'd rather be doing this on a router table with an infinity cut after cutting it with a bandsaw. But it's not what I want, it's what I have. And I'm going very gingerly in this area of the violin style ribs because it's very thin and it will chip and fly off if I'm not careful. Especially this first cut. The following cuts will be just a couple of turns on the knob of the router. The top knob, this router is the smallest one from Triton, doesn't have the side height adjustment, it's just the one on top. So I would say a turn goes down about 1 millimeter, no more than that. And if I had a flatter surface, as in work surface, I would probably masking tape and super glue it to the workbench and go all around instead of doing it by thirds, 1/3 at a time, then unclamping it, then clamping it back and going around several times. Just a note on the neck, I got myself a neck blank and a pre-slotted fretboard that is A-grade flame maple. However, doing the inlays, I was doing mini block acrylic inlays and I messed it up to the point that I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to recover it, so I bought new slotted fretboard, and the lovely folk at David Dyke gave me an upgrade and gave me a AA flame maple, and I'm not doing any inlays on it. I'm going Texas toast style, no inlays on the fretboard, just on the side. That video is gonna be a while still. Yeah, and rotate again. I don't know what those clamps are, but they're handy. Cost me about a tenner on Amazon for two big ones and two small ones, and still does the job. I've had it for several years. One day it won't do the job and I'll buy new ones, but for now, that'll do. You saw me there just having a feel for the first cut. It is not ideal, but that first centimeter is going to be carved away anyway. This second cut is a lot shallower. Goes a lot easier. Don't know if it's the nature of the wood or the quality of the bit. That bit was carving a lot of maple last year. Might not be the sharpest one because it was also definitely not the most expensive bit. This is one thing that happens. I don't have enough surface to balance the router there, so you just wiggle a bit. The template has a few dents already because of that. It's all a combination of not having the right tools to do the job, so I wish I had a wider base. Thank you for watching. See you next episode.